Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Well, hello, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Welcome back and happy TweetChat Wednesday. As a continuation, I hope you're having a beautiful week. You know, we want to celebrate our TweetChat community, and we're so excited to share that hashtag Winnie Sun has now been shared over 25 billion times as of last week. It's true. Over 25 billion impressions as reported by hashtag tracking report. We're really, really grateful. And if you're joining us a replay, hello. Thank you so much for tuning in. And thank you so much for just hanging with us. A big welcome also to my friends at Modern Mom. As you know, now we're also streaming to you so that you can stay on top of relevant and business and financial news. Let's start and let you know how the market closed. So the Dow today, unfortunately, I shouldn't even say that. It's not unfortunately. Fortunately, the Dow roared up 464 points today. It was a great day for the Dow. The Nasdaq, though, unfortunately, was down 4 points, and the S&P 500 up 23 points. The stimulus checks are coming, my friends. Today, the House of Representatives passed the whopping $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill, and they'll be formally sending it to President Joe Biden, who's expected to sign as early as this Friday, and definitely by the end of the week. This comes as over 75% of Americans recently surveyed gave approval of the American Rescue Plan, which is going to be one of the largest stimulus plans in history. This is actually going to be giving direct payments or stimulus checks for so many Americans. For Americans who make under $80,000, they'll be receiving some sort of check, and you probably get the full amount if you earn less than $75,000, or if you, as a married couple, earn less than $150,000. So lots of good news. We have more information on that tomorrow. I'm going to break it down in even more detail so you can see what you have in place and what you can look forward to, because as you know, at this rate, we actually might see checks being sent out to many of you before the end of March is even open. So huge welcome to our friends. I see Bernie joining us on on YouTube, actually. Get Hairs on Periscope. So many of you all on Modern Mom. Thank you all so much for joining in. Today, we have a special treat. Now, you know my friends here. Now, many of you are excited to see them. Let's welcome to the show the one and only Stephanie Liu, and of course, Mike Allton. Hello, you both. Thank you so much. Now, we have so much fun together because these two, as you may know, are besties. But not only that, total powerhouses. Let's start with Stephanie. She is an absolute powerhouse by the complete definition. She's a live video strategist, a host of Lights Camera Live, and an award-winning digital marketer and co-author of Ultimate Guide to Social Media Marketing. Actually, one of my favorite books. She helps brands go from unknown to unforgettable by launching their own live show, and you can follow along by following the hashtag Lights Camera Live. It actually, Stephanie knows this, but I actually saw a brand recently use Lights Camera Live, and I was like, oh, is that something Stephanie was doing? And they were using her, catchphrase, and I was like, I was a little protective at that moment. I'm like, I need
No,
to
you didn't tell me. That's a registered trademark. Yeah.
It's okay. So I will tell you, it's a financial firm. You're using Stephanie's registered trademark, which is a big no-no. Now, let's welcome the one and only Mike Allton, who we adore. Literally known and coined by myself and many others as one of the nicest humans on social media, walking on social. This is so true. Mike Allton is content marketing practitioner, brand evangelist at Agora Pulse, which we love, author and award-winning social media blogger. He's fluent in Star Wars and all things kindness, and you can follow him. He's an amazing blogger, and if you don't already now, make sure to take a moment and follow them both. You're seeing their Twitter profiles here, so definitely follow them on Twitter. They're on all the different social media platforms. And I can say, as their friend, I just adore these two humans. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing well. Happy Wednesday, middle of the week.
Happy Wednesday. When you say that, I feel like it's almost at the end of the week, but I don't know, just like this pandemic has made us so busy. When is it? I was just talking to actually my creative director earlier, and I was like, we really need a vacation from this pandemic, right? It's been like, this is like no joke. Mike, you can let's start with you on this. Like, talk about how the pandemic has impacted your life. We were just talking about before we got on the air about your little ones. How are they doing?
Well, yeah, there's definitely an impact there because I have two girls that are in elementary school, and they started off the pandemic homeschooled, and then within a couple months their school reopened to partial in school, partial virtual. So I've been spending like Friday mornings with my youngest. I was spending half days with her for several months in the fall. That's definitely been a change, but I've been blessed that I already worked from home. So I already had a home office and a studio, and there was very little change for me, professionally from the pandemic.
I know. I mean, it's really fortunate because you had all this set in place. And talk about people that were really prepared. I mean, Stephanie Liu, when I think of prepared going into the pandemic, having everything, I mean, a lot of people, as soon as, this happened, everything got shut down, people were scrambling to get webcams and lights and all this gear. Stephanie, I just feel like I can only picture you have like mini Best Buy at your house. True or false?
True. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. As soon as you said that, I looked over to my side because I had redecorated my office 2 years prior, and I installed like shelves and all these other things. So I had backups of my backups. And Winnie, I swear, people were hitting me up like, hey, do you have an extra webcam? And I was like, what's the going price for this? It was good. It was good. Yeah.
I know it's so true. I totally understand what you're saying because nowadays with gear at home, I'm the same way. I have a backup to my backup. Everything needs to have a backup, right? A redundancy. Want to say a huge hello also to my friend Get It Hair joining us on Periscope. It's so wonderful to see you. Let's talk about live video. It's grown by 93% with an average viewing time of over 26 minutes per session. This was actually reported last year, even before the pandemic. Now it feels like everybody, but so many of us are working from home in front of our digital devices more than ever. And certainly what that's meant, I would think, is an uptick in the interest of what the two of you are doing. I mean, you two are definitely leaders when it comes to the social media activities in the digital space, live streaming, definitely blogging, making sure that the content is attractive. So today's topic on the tweet chat, for those of you who didn't get a chance to join us, definitely, you can do this after the show, do a quick search for hashtag Winnie's son. You can see the questions that came out, and you want to really pay attention to the shares that came from these two incredible leaders, because I was like jotting notes, like, we're going to copy paste a lot of this. And you can actually see it in sort of what do we call it? A summary at the top of my Twitter page. But what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of these two amazing human beings. And I can actually ask them the questions in person and let them go beyond what's restricted on Twitter on how much they can answer. So I wanted to actually share with all of you question number 3, which I thought was a great one, which is how far in advance should you share what's coming next? Now, this could be your live stream. It could be blogging content. It could be all these things. But planning ahead is critical, right? When it comes to promoting, we would love to talk about best strategies. And I know Stephanie is going to kick this out of the curb. So what I'm going to do is start with Mike, okay? And then Stephanie, you get to fill in here.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
then
Mike,
I don't have to follow that amazingness.
I know. So let's do this, Mike. Talk to me about this. I mean, not only do you do this well in terms of video, you also do a lot of big events, but let's not kid ourselves. You also do an incredible job in terms of your posts and your blogging content. I just feel like you really know how to get the right information in front of your preferred audience. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that for us.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good idea right at the outset to make sure that you're letting your audience know what's coming next, because it requires that you know what's coming next, right? If you haven't thought through what your next video, what your next blog post, what your next email or course or any of that stuff is going to be, that means you don't have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, then you're just kind of winging it, and it's going to be really hard for you to achieve success, and it's certainly going to be impossible for you to get your audience excited about what it is that you've got coming up next. So if you can map out what your lives are going to be. Like it's really good if you're scheduling interviews and guests and that sort of thing, right? Because you don't want to try to schedule an interview the week of a live. You want to have that scheduled out weeks, months, maybe even quarters in advance. So if you can share with your audience, hey, next month we're talking to these fantastic people, and then the month after that we're talking to these fantastic people, you're going to get them excited, and you're going to want to give them an opportunity to subscribe in some way so that they don't miss that great content. I do this all the time with these major live events and summits that we put on at Agorapulse, where I will tell our audience, look, next quarter our summit's going to be, May, whatever it is, and it's going to be focused on this, that, or the next thing. We know that months in advance, so people can block out the day and they can invite their friends and they can get ready for a full day of learning and excitement and interactivity, because that's the kind of thing you got to plan for. You're not going to decide today to take tomorrow off just to participate in an event. That's got to be scheduled in advance. So taking that time to plan is very, very important.
It's really important. I love that. Especially if you have evergreen content or content that can wait, a few days, or like Mike was saying, maybe weeks in advance, months in advance. That actually makes a lot of sense. And let's talk about, when I think of like the powerhouse in terms of organization, getting things into place, we got to bring up the one and only Stephanie Liu. Stephanie, let's talk about, because you share so many gems today on the chat of some of your strategies. I love this. How far do you plan ahead? And I know that you plan on multiple platforms, and maybe you could share with you some tips that you would recommend people consider. Definitely, my team are definitely taking notes. We always learn so much from both of you.
Yeah, I would say bare minimum, if you can, try to start to promote your show at least 7 days in advance. Because I don't know about you, but it's midweek for me right now, and I'm already thinking, what is it that I need to do next week? What are my non-negotiables? And so when you're able to give your audience enough time to think about, like, okay, I like this topic, it's something that's really going to help me solve a problem, I need to block out time for it, then they're going to plan everything else around your event. So that way they could go ahead and show up live and take advantage of being there right then. The thing that I've kind of evolved over the past year is, now I actually do what Mike does. I let them know, like, okay, in this episode, we're talking about this, but remember, next week, we're also going to be talking about that. So that way they could start seeing how our content is basically layering on top of each other, and it's going to supplement them as far as their learning goes. So a lot of times I do what's called calendar marketing, where I'm just like, don't give me your email address, just add me to your calendar. Because I know, Winnie, Mike, you're probably just like me. The first thing that you do is you look at your phone and you're just like, okay, what's the plan for the day, right? And then everything else, any new requests that come in, nope, not today. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. But once it's in my calendar, it's booked solid.
I love that. I when I'm listening to this, I'm selfishly wishing I could get that ahead. In the financial industry with financial news, I mean, it could change literally, like on like Mondays, I do Fox Business, and literally 5 minutes before I go on air, something will pop up, and literally we'll have to like add that into to the notes really quick. And I'm going to have to make sure to be able to deliver that information. So yeah, absolutely. I think if you can plan ahead, that is ideal, right? Get It Here actually shared on Periscope, which I love, which is also that it builds anticipation. And what Stephanie said was so powerful. It shows people what they can learn, right? And how it's sort of, it's been very thoughtfully planned for you on your behalf. So you can see the sessions that make sense for you. And what Mike said was just so powerful, especially if you're doing a larger size event. Give me reasons to stay. Give me reasons to subscribe and hang on and not lose your number, for sure. I love that. Super, super powerful. In fact, there's an interesting statistic that we shared today too, that 82% of viewers say that actually they prefer seeing a live stream rather than a brand social post. This has got to be good news for you, Stephanie, because, this actually kind of coincides with our question number 4, which I love for you to lead on this one, which is, and actually this one, I'm sure Mike is going to hit it out of the park. So it kind of works out. We're being really fair today. Like, there's no favorites here. Love them both. All right. So this question was a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Mike and Stephanie. How important is the skill of storytelling when going live? What tips are the most helpful for interviewing a guest on your live stream? Let's start with you, Stephanie. Actually, you interview a lot of people on your show. What are your advices in this area?
I would say for the interviewing tips, just like what your producer is doing right now, is that whenever someone is answering a question, it's so helpful for you to switch the screen so that way you could have your speaker take up the whole entire screen. And then you, as the producer, as the host, then in the background, you could be taking a look at like, oh, who's commenting on Periscope? Who's on LinkedIn? Who do I need to give a shout out? Because where I see most people making a mistake is that they leave both the host and the speaker that's answering the question. And then as the speaker is dropping those knowledge bombs, the host is like off looking somewhere else, probably typing, and it loses the impact, right? The power that the speaker is like dropping right then and there. So that would be like my biggest tip when it comes to pro interviewing, especially on a live stream.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's such a great tip because you're right. We have to monitor the comments. We'll make sure you're part of the stream, but most important, the guest has to be highlighted because that's where so much of the wisdom is coming from. We're talking about storytelling, and no storytelling would be complete without Mike Allton. Mike, talk about how important is storytelling within a live stream, and talk about preparing for that story. How do you prepare for that?
Well, storytelling is so important because it's the kind of element that as humans we respond to and react to and relate to and remember. I mean, that's really the whole point of stories historically, is to teach lessons that kids could remember and then grow up into adults before they could write anything down. And I mentioned in the tweet chat, I loved that you started this question with a Star Wars reference, because I immediately thought about how, okay, this was George Lucas writing the scripts for Star Wars, and George was so inspired by Joseph Campbell, who wrote in the 40s The Hero with a Thousand Faces, right? He had studied, Jung and all these other archetypes about heroes and storytelling, right? And villains and the journey that people take through their stories. And what that harkened to me was the importance of the show host allowing their guest to be the hero of whatever story, right? Winnie, this show today, it's not about you, right? I mean, it's about me and it's about Stephanie and the work that she's doing. And that's why I mentioned in the tweet chat what a great example she is with the Lights Camera Live show that she's been doing for years. I mean, she specifically says in the show, I'm shining a light on the best and brightest marketers in the business. And then when those marketers come on the show, she's allowing them to share, this is the journey that I've been on. These are the challenges that I faced. And most importantly, this is how I conquered those challenges. And it's done in a way that everybody who's watching gets to learn from the story that's being told. So that's really the crux of it as a live streamer, particularly in this interview format, where you bring on a guest and you allow them to shine. You allow them to share what is it that they've faced, what challenges that they faced, and how did they solve it in a way that the rest of us can learn from.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That guy puts it so clearly. And if you think about it, like most of us enjoy learning from stories, right? That's why we love television shows. We love movies. We don't just sit there and learn about things that we could simply, we could read in a note card. We want to be invested in what you're sharing with us. I love that. And I think it's quite telling, right? It's just, even this alone will be very telling to you, because in fact, live streaming, the industry itself has grown by 99% from April 2019 to the following year. In 1 year, it's grown almost 100%, which goes to show you that as much as we enjoy social media contact, we like reading posts, we like commenting, what we want to be entertained too, right? We want that component where, Joshua comes in on and CrossX Fighter comes in on YouTube, or all our friends, maybe Lena join us from Facebook. We like seeing our friends, and that sort of creates that sort of collision. I remember when I was working on American's Funniest Home Videos, a television show, it was great because it gave people in the audience a role in that particular production. I think that's what's really beautiful live streaming too. So let's talk about this. This is a question that, this is question number 11 that I thought was really good. And that is, what's in your live streaming toolbox? What are your favorite software apps, tools? This is a great one. And definitely we got to start with Stephanie on this, because let me tell you, through the years, I've learned so much from her on some of the things that she does. So it's so creative. And if you're really sort of brand new, starting off, or even you have some experience, but you want to take it to the next level, you definitely want to follow Stephanie's content. She shares so many of these power tips when it comes to video production. This is a stuff that she does for a lot of companies. So definitely, Stephanie, let's talk about, let's throw down. What are the, and I'm guessing that you and Mike kind of, I mean, you helped your bestie here because his setup is beautiful, Stephanie. So share with us.
You know, it's one of those things where you're like, hey, you know what? It's time to upgrade. Let me upgrade you. You know, I will say that my live streaming toolbox has definitely evolved over the last year. So things that have changed, I now have a dedicated Apple Mini Mac M1 that's sitting on my desk now, and it is my dedicated live streaming machine. Like no other software programs are on it. Like that is it. And it works so beautifully, so flawlessly. And it's connected now to a teleprompter. So that way you have the camera right here, which I'm looking at, and then it actually has a teleprompter underneath. So I could see Winnie and I could see Mike and I could see exactly what's going on without having to look away from the camera. So those are like my go-tos right now. Things that I absolutely love as far as still producing the show, hands down, it's always going to be Ecamm Live. That's like the best way for me to produce the show and make it entertaining, to add all of those exciting elements, the sound effects, right? The different scenes, all of that fun stuff to make your show really entertaining. Plus, I can never not talk about the Stream Deck. The Stream Deck is my go-to for switching scenes and just being able to be that one person producer and producing your own show. I wish I had someone remote producing one for me, but that's not the case. So I have like this beautiful Stream Deck, which I also gifted over to Mike. I was like, hey, you're going to want one of these.
I love that. So Mike, how did she set you up? How do you feel? How do you feel about your setup? Is it as easy to use? Because not all of us are as proficient at like live streaming as Miss Stephanie Liu here.
It is easy to use. And funny story with the Stream Deck, she sent that to me, I think maybe 2 Christmases ago. And it was probably 6 or 8 months before I finally started using it, took it out of the box and figured it out. But then once I did, I'm using it every day. I literally used it this morning because like Stephanie, I use Ecamm. I'm using it right now to broadcast out from my system. And I use it to record presentations and of course do presentations live. And the Stream Deck makes it so easy to switch scenes, right? So when it's just me, or maybe I want to share a screen share or a presentation or something like that. But my setup, thanks to Ecamm and Stephanie's help, is really good. The one thing that I'll add to a lot of the things that she just said is the sound. You might be able to catch it on screen here. I have an ATR 2100 USB mic, which isn't that expensive. And I think you can still get on Amazon, even though it's a somewhat older microphone. Mine is definitely old. This is a microphone I've probably had for maybe 5 or 6 years, maybe longer than that. One of the reasons why it sounds so good is that I pipe it through a mixer. So this is a USB mic, but the ATR 2100 comes also with that XLR option. So there's 2 cables, and I can plug it into the Behringer mixer, which is a USB mixer, and the mixer comes into my computer. Now that sounds complicated and expensive, but it's not. That mixer is like $80 on Amazon, about the same price as the microphone, which combined is still less than the Yeti that I actually have one over here that I'm not even using. That Yeti was like $250. I'm not even using it because this sounds better than the Yeti, right? And once I took the time to figure out the settings on the mixer, there's a kind of, a magic to it where you get on a YouTube video and you somebody will walk you through, okay, you turn this knob and listen to it, then you turn this knob and listen to it and record it and listen to it. Once I've got that set, it's done. I don't touch it. So now I come into a live stream like this. I've got Ecamm fired up, and Ecamm is doing what's called a virtual cam, right? So Ecamm will take my DSLR, which is just a Canon T6i, again, not an expensive DSLR. Ecamm's bringing that video feed in, and I make sure that my USB audio, I forget what it's called, audio codec, I think is what it shows up in the selector. That's selected as my mic source, and now I've got great audio. I've got friends in the DJ business who say, Mike, your audio is like, it sounds like my studio, which is awesome. That's what I want to hear for very little upfront expense. So that's made a big difference for me.
I love that. That's a great tip, Mike. And those of you who are just starting off, we're seeing a lot of comments come in from those of you who are just starting off in live streaming. These are some really powerful tips that both of my friends here are sharing with you. I would agree. I think the microphone is critical. A lot of people put so much emphasis on lights and camera, which are really important, but the audio is critical because as Mike and Stephanie both know, as well as I know too often, so many times, because the internet, it could be our kids streaming, it could be whatever reason, the video quality might not be that good, but people are forgiving with video quality, less so with audio quality. So I recently upgraded my microphone. This is like my new friend. I have yet to name her, but I will name her soon. And absolutely, I agree with you. I was using a USB mic for the longest time. Once I went, it's an XLR. Once I went that direction, I don't think I could go back because it's helped me significantly. I do love the way it sounds, and you can do really fun things. Actually with that, let's give a round of applause to my friends today, because I just feel like, this is really important that we do this. There's so many great tips, but yeah, absolutely. There's so many things that you can do that don't cost an arm and a leg that can really elevate your performance on live streaming. But everything else, for those of you who are building your brand, building your business, don't think about this as just live streaming. This could be to help your next Zoom call that you do with a potential client or your employees, right? I do a lot of large corporate speaking for many companies. Like this Friday, I'll be speaking for NBC, right? And so that type of quality of content needs to come through really strong. So we got hundreds of employees that are going to be there. We want to make sure all the details line up. And that's when you decide that, since I'm sheltering in place, I'm working from home, I really need to, this is like the setup that the three of us have. This is like back in the day, when you would go and buy yourself a fancy suit and like beautiful shoes. You need less of that now. You need better audio and video equipment, right, Steph? Steph can understand.
Yeah.
It's so true.
One thing that I'll say that was so helpful, because our company actually helps our clients with video in general. We have a video first strategy, is that all of our onboarding for our clients included a webcam and a mic. And even back then they're like, oh, okay, all right, that's cool. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, they're like, oh my gosh, everyone loves my camera, everyone loves my mic. And I'm all like, that's right.
You should have used it earlier. Just say, I know.
Should take it out of the box. Hey, yeah, don't do what he did and just let it collect dust for you.
But yeah, if I could add one other thing too, you
Sure.
two are blessed to be in Southern California and to have that wonderful natural lighting. I do not have that. I am facing a window and you wouldn't know it because I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, and kid you not, it is overcast right now and it's going to rain all week. So I for a while I had those like umbrella lamps, and those were annoying because I have to look at them if I'm in my office, whether I'm online or not. So I bought really, really good bulbs, just regular bulbs, but they're like 6,000 watt or something like that. And I put them in a pair of standing lamps that look amazing. They're on either side of me. When they're off, they fit the decor of my office. And I can use my voice assistant. I'm not going to say their name. I can use my voice assistant to turn on my office lamps, and that turns on the Edison bulbs behind me for some nice cool lighting behind me, and turns on these two lamps in front of me for amazing light behind the camera illuminating my face. So I don't have an overhead light. I don't ever use it. It's in the office. I don't use it. I use those two lamps, and other than the cost of the standing lamps themselves, I think the bulbs were probably $20 for the pair. So investing in lighting makes a huge difference.
I love that. So for those of you who are watching and you're thinking, I don't know how much I should spend on lighting and whatnot, sounds like a trip to Home Depot or Lowe's will do the trick. 6,000 watt bulb sounds like Mike has shared with. I love that. That's so true. One thing that I learned from some producer friends is also, right now I am facing a window, but it is overcast here in Southern California. But if you can find a north facing window, plop yourself towards that north facing window typically gives you really, really nice natural light. The other thing is, we hear a lot of talk about ring lights, and I will say, just personally, I'm not a fan of ring lights if you can, but this is a true fact. Years ago, I did a project with Kathy Ireland, and this was very inspiring because Curtis, who's with me today, he remembers. We were doing filming together, and she travels with her own lighting crew, and I was like, wow, that's really, really smart, right? So no matter if you take a picture of her, if you like, hey, Kathy, can I get your autograph? She will always be in great lighting. And like, how smart. That's an investment she's made for her brand. So although you might think, I don't know if I need that right now, Mike just gave you a really inexpensive option. My option is free. Actually, you can download the app on your smartphone, download the Compass app, point it towards north, and sit yourself right there. And actually, one of my friends, she doesn't even do this. She actually just goes to her backyard. And she, like what Mike says, if you have she is in Southern California. If you do have some natural light, you can literally just pop yourself in the backyard, stick up the camera, and you could be ready to go. But if not, you want to take it to the next level, obviously you know who to contact in this group because they obviously know this very, very well. But I will say, I'll add this.
Need light crew when traveling.
I know. It's exactly what I was
right?
like. Light crew, come hither.
Light crew. Yeah, really impressive light crew, I might add. But absolutely, yeah, lighting I think is crucial. But yeah, I'm a really big believer in the power of the microphone, though, because it's, believe it or not, in the whole setup, in the grand scheme of things, I think this is one of the lower cost items in our setup. I would think for all three of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, my microphone wasn't expensive, but it's certainly, like you said, I have a dedicated MacBook Pro just to running the live stream. The computer was definitely, that's not true. The camera was more expensive, but all these things sort of add up, right? I was like, yeah. Oh,
The camera.
The camera. First it goes to camera, then it goes to lens, then you go to then it goes. We should almost do like what costs more, right? But it does add up. It is an investment. But to be honest with you, I remember when I was working at Smith Barney, a financial firm years ago, right? Big wirehouse firm. Not myself, but a lot of my colleagues. The cars that they would drive in, the suits that they would be wearing, trust me, that was way more expensive than my whole setup right here. So there you go, right? There's always a plus or minus, but I do think if you invest in this for your business, it actually will significantly help with your bottom line. I think it will help with business if you really invest and do it properly. That's the thing that what I've always admired of Stephanie and Mike is also making that decision to not do things sort of, kind of, but actually making the decision to do it right from the beginning. And so thank you both. Thank you so much for this. I love this. Get It Hair is saying, uh-oh. She's like, this is sounding pricey. It kind of is. Friends have to be honest with you. None of this is cheap that we're talking about, but yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think when you start to realize how you could monetize your live stream or leverage it to win more deals, I think that's when you're really going to find that it's worthwhile to invest in a DSLR. It's worthwhile to have a microphone and the lighting and all of that stuff, because first impressions are now done virtually. They're done via Zoom meetings. They're done over camera. And when you show up, right? When you show up in the best lighting that you can have, that's something that people are definitely going to remember. And so you could start off small, start off with a simple web camera, but as you see the results, the fruits of your labor coming up, that's an opportunity for you to go ahead and reinvest. And I know that the last upgrade that I had originally was the camera. And so this year it looks like dedicated Mac mini machine just for live streaming, and then workhorse computer on this side.
I love this. Yeah, it's gotten kind of silly. My husband, who's a network engineer, I used to always say that he would have all this gear, and now he comes up to my office at home. He's like, I have a lot of gear. I mean, I think all three of us can agree. We probably own more HDMI cables than our entire block. That's what right? It's bananas, but this is what it takes to do what we do, and it is a continuous evolvement. So I love that. I love this so much. And let's go ahead and have some fun. Let's do a little speed round with my two friends. How does that sound? Sound good?
Good. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, Stephanie, we're going to start with you on this one. And that is, what's one purchase that you made specifically for a live stream that you can't live without? What's the one thing that you think?
The Stream Deck. Yeah, the Stream Deck. Because when I'm in the middle of switching a screen, I just like push a button and boom, it's done. Instead of like, what button do I need to push again? Yeah. Stream Deck.
Yeah, everybody needs something like that because we know how challenging that is. All right, I love that. All right, Mike, same question to you. What's one purchase that you made that you can't live without for your live stream setup?
The mixer. Yeah, the mixer that just totally upgraded my audio. Absolutely. And here I thought we were doing like a GameStop thing, but this is cool. I like it.
I love that. We gotta give that's great. Okay, I love that. All right, let's continue on. Mike, next question starts with you, and that's, what's one thing that you've learned about yourself or learned how to do during this pandemic, and did it surprise you?
Oh, I learned how to. I think I'm going to pick the podcast. I started a podcast in December, and interestingly, it wasn't positive. I learned that at least my idea of what I should do for a podcast isn't what my audience wanted, but it was still a learning experience.
Oh, very interesting. That's really profound. I love that because sometimes you think it's going to really resonate with your audience, and sometimes it just doesn't. So, that's deep. Actually, Mike, thank you for sharing that. Stephanie, I just feel like you're a woman of many talents. So I'm just thinking you have a list of things you've learned during this pandemic, but just share with one that you've learned. And really, did it surprise you? What did you do, Steph?
Does it have to do with live streaming?
No, it has to do with anything. Like yesterday, Greg told me that he learned how to make a chicken pot pie in his Ninja slow cooker.
Okay.
So
yeah, I am like a meal prep queen now at this point, because now when my daughter is in school, I'm like vacuum sealing like meals for the rest of the week, and I'm like packing it in. I've discovered how to use the sous vide, so I just drop it in the water bath. I'm like, turkey's done.
I love that. I love
all
that.
the things with like how to automate and systematize the household chores has really been like, okay, I figured it out, and now I'm keeping my sanity.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Juggling all of them. I will say, I'll add to this one thing that I learned from the pandemic, which is probably one of my most proud moments, is I learned how to properly roast a chicken. Like I know, like I got the recipe from Thomas Keller, from many of you know, like considered the best chef in the United States. He has this recipe on Masterclass. You can actually Google it. You don't have to have a subscription to get it, but I tweaked it so it's my own version. Goodness gracious. For those of you who think Costco has a great rotisserie chicken, once you roast your own chicken, you're not going to want that chicken anymore. And that's actually what I do once a week. And it is a crowd pleaser with my little guys. So yeah, those are things that matter, right? Those are the things that matter. I'm loving this conversation. All right. So huge thank you to Stephanie Liu and Mike Allton. Let's do one more last time. Stephanie, where should people follow you? How would you like them to stay in touch with you?
Absolutely. So the best place to find me is at lightscameralive.com. That's where you're going to find all the information about Lights Camera Live, showrunner secrets from the set, and digital confetti. So much info. We have a lot of things there. And if you scroll down on that webpage over there, you could add all of the shows to your calendar, because that's exactly it. If you want to be in the know about how to get your live stream from unknown to unforgettable, add it to your calendar. You'll be in my life. I'll be in your life, and we'll have fun together.
I love that. You'll be in my life. I'll be in your life. Beautiful, Steph. Steph's so cute. All right. Mr. Mike Allton, love your content. How do we stay in touch?
Yeah. So the best place for me is bloggingbrute.com. You can learn how to structure content, how to create content, how to repurpose content. You can follow me in the socials from there. Blogging Brute is kind of like my passion project. That's really representative of what I enjoy talking about and teaching the most.
Wonderful. And we're sharing it right there. So you can take a look. Blogging Brew. Really great content. And yes, Stephanie is adding something. Stephanie, what are you adding?
It's the flair for the
I see that. We need to, I'm on the wrong side, but yes. Thank you,
You eventually
Stephanie.
learn
I
that
love.
with live streaming, like where
I guess we have
where
to do. We'll have to give a high five down and a high five. Yeah, I love that. Well, thank you so much, my friends. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, all of you. Let it get a hair. So many, Joshua, all of you for joining us. Smarter Mom, you have here our live stream, which streams every day that the financial markets are open. Thank you so much for watching, supporting our program. If you could take a moment to share this show with someone that you love. As a reminder, you can find full episodes of Level Up with Winnie Sun on NASDAQ, Amazon Fire, and Roku. So be well, and I can't wait to see you again tomorrow. Take care now.